This is what students think I do. This is what alumni think I do. This is what faculty think I do. This is what society thinks I do. This is what my wife thinks I do. But what do I really do? That's a much longer story. It's a day in the life of the president. This is our favorite thing to do, is cook.
Well, one of the things we try to do is to have a cup of coffee together in the morning.
We usually try to check in to see when we're going to connect with one another again.
You may leave now. You may exit now.
Today is an interesting day. We're having breakfast in my office with a number of students who have organized for Port Richmond Partnership a student corps. We're partnered with Port Richmond around issues of economic development, healthcare, immigration, and education.
10:15, he's got a phone call with Bill May. He doesn't know that yet.
As you'll see as you go through my day, there's a lot of fill-in stuff. I'm very spontaneous. I believe you walk around, you meet people, you engage people, you call people up. So there's a lot that's not on the calendar that'll happen during the day at any given moment.
We want the red, not the blue.
Show me a deep red and show me this. I'm an obsessive personality. My entire elementary and high school experience was a blizzard of disciplinary problems and writing with pens with ink. I think I've kind of penned out now. I don't have enough room for all the pens. The second meeting is a meeting with a candidate for a history position. This is the third of 3 candidates.
So let me tell you a bit about Wagner, so that you have some sense, intellectual sense of what we do.
And then later on, later in the morning, I meet with a fellow named Billy Weitzer, who I believe is the provost at Fairfield University. He's doing a book on innovative institutions in higher education. He singled out Wagner as one of them. This is
Right there. Yeah, I mean, so it's wonderful.
Then I go back and I want to finish writing my report for the Board of Trustees. Around 3 o'clock, I'll pick that up and work on that for a couple of hours. So I love music, and I work off of inspiration, so music is really interesting to me. On days when I want to be mellow, so probably later in the day, I'll put on Miles Davis, Kind of Blue.
This is blank, I can use this.
All of our communities are linked together. And when we realize that and act that way, the whole island will be better. So when I go home tonight, I've got several things I have to work on related to board stuff and some reports that I'm working on. So that's the day. But wait till you see what happens. Usually, spontaneously, there's a number of things that happen.
As you can see, President Guarasci is passionate about, well, everything. But he is especially passionate about his students. Tad Bender came to Wagner in 2002 from New Hampshire. While at Wagner, he was extremely active, becoming the student government president, joining the Putting Wagner First campaign committee upon graduation in 2006, and is now in his 2nd year as president of the National Alumni Association Board of Directors. Greg Bayless, the current president of the Student Government Association, is a commuter student with a double major, a double major in biology and chemistry, hails from Staten Island, and is a co-founder of the Pre-Dental Club. Let's welcome these 2 highly accomplished young men.
Thanks everyone for coming. We figured the best way to exemplify Dr. Guarasci was for us to brainstorm a little bit and figure out 2 words that we could that would embolden what Dr. Guarasci and Karen mean to Wagner College. It's hard to follow President Clinton, but we'll try as best we can. So my word was inspire. And when we think about inspiration and inspiring, I think about the different building blocks of this college. You have the senior staff, you have faculty, you have staff, you have students, and you have alumni. And it starts really at all those levels. We think about how do we inspire with better facilities. You've heard Foundation Hall. You've heard the Center for Global Learning, for sure. You've heard about better educational opportunities. People are studying abroad more. There's a deep, deep civic engagement. And you've heard about better involvement. You've heard about learning communities. You've heard about the Wagner Plan. You've heard about the growth of student involvement on campus, the amount of clubs, and the amount of deep, deep passion that students have for Wagner College. When you have that base, you take it as an alumni. And I only have this 6 years of experience post-Wagner, and I'm sure anyone can share an experience longer than that, or shorter than that, depending on your time. But you take that base of inspiration and you inspire others. Look at all the alumni in all these various positions: profit, nonprofit, teacher, business, services, pre-dental. We'll get in there. All these different pockets of alumni that are sharing that same inspiration. The proof of this inspiration, though, is the standing of this college. I had an experience with Dr. Guarasci where I sat with him and he was having a state of the college, and he said, the endowment's $4 million. And as a freshman, I'm like, well, that's a lot of money. But okay. And he said, my goal is to make this endowment at least equal to the budget of the college. And as a naive freshman from New Hampshire, I said, well, how do you do that? And he said, well, come to my office. And I went, what? The president of the college? This is never a good sign. But he sat with me, and my inspiration started to develop on how I could get involved and how I could grow as someone at Wagner College. And that's just my story, but I think the proof of this inspiration is evident by every single person in this room, and every single person that has a similar story to me, and has a similar story to Greg, and anyone else that can share this passion and this inspiration for the growth of this college and where it's going. So I thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to speak. I'd like Greg to share his thoughts on Dr. Guarasci and Karen as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Tad. Very much appreciate your introduction. So we spoke of facilities and the students and Dr. Guarasci. And one of the words that I chose was engaged, because I truly think that Dr. Guarasci is engaged within the Wagner community. And I say that because, as seen in the video, he is walking around shaking hands. He knows the students' names. We're not just numbers here, we're people. And I heard this a lot when I was first coming to Wagner, that it's like a family, and it really is. Because a lot of the qualities that your own family has instilled in each other, you've brought back to Wagner. And I think that the students see that, and it's something that we really take to heart. So thank you for that. And I just also want to mention, as far as Dr. Guarasci's dedication to student ideas, suggestions, whatever it is, he encourages them to just email him, as busy as he is. Send me an email, he says, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. I heard that so many times. And even at the town hall meetings, he's always very concerned as far as the suggestions and the ideas, and he does follow up. So I wanted to say thank you very much for that aspect of Dr. Guarasci. And also, lastly, I wanted to, on behalf of the student government, the student body, and everyone here in this room, just raise a glass and share in another 10 years, or however long you decide to hang out with us. Sorry to put a number on that for you. But as many years as it is, just make them just as successful as you have so far. Thank you, Dr. Guarasci. Thank you.
Thank you, Tad and Greg.
Hello, everyone. We are not interlopers. Who let these two in? I'm Patrick Guarasci. This is Bridget Guarasci. We are Richard and Karen's children. Before we introduce my mother, we want to thank everyone here for what they've done for my family, for my parents, for our family and parents, for our mother and father. We have heard so much about you. My parents derive inspiration from you. You've been there for them. You've been their family when we haven't been there. And you really are a part of this celebration just as much as we are or anybody else in this room is. So thank you so much for everything you've done. And now begins the Wagner College Friar Club roast of Karen and Richard Guarasci. Actually, we promised our parents that we would not go R-rated tonight. We haven't had any cocktails. We've kept it very on the straight and level and even. We have not yet, though, we want to put a marker down. We have not yet forgiven our parents for the shrine behind my father's desk of our childhood. I'm not older than 15 in my father's office, although I'm still the same height, unfortunately.
I have big 80s hair for, in perpetuity and bad prom dresses.
But we wanted to say a few words about my mother in particular.
Okay, well, Karen Guarasci, as you know, makes an entrance. You either hear her heels clicking on her way down the hall, catch a glimpse of the season's fashion sashaying by, or you get an earful of that full-hearted, unmistakable laugh. Our mother's joie de vivre carried over to her passion for reading.
We grew up in Canton, New York, a town in upstate New York with a single high school, sandwiched between a cornfield, a cow pasture, a newly formed neighborhood, and woods, and that might be overstating it. Every Saturday, our mother took us on a different journey, a voyage in books. And I want to say that my mother, in particular with me, I was a fussy child, as you might imagine, if anyone might recall when I was younger. And I really did, it was difficult to teach me. And my mother spent so much time with me and sat with me and taught me how to read and taught me how to learn. And frankly, I owe my career and my education to that. Thank you for doing that.
On those Saturdays, in between, I devoured Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. My brother lived in the land of the wild things. My mother took us to storytelling with Jackie Torrance, a gifted orator Mom somehow managed to bring to that small school where she was teaching in Ogdensburg, New York, right across the border from Canada. She toted us from library to bookshop in Canton, Brooklyn, and San Francisco. You see, reading has been my mom's life's passion.
She knew just how important how defining literacy could be. Her father, our grandfather, Grandpa Andrew, had tried many times to learn, but lived his life as an entrepreneur, a trucker, a window washer. He actually washed the windows on the Empire State Building, just up the street here. And he was a successful businessman. He had an iron will. But he did that without being able to read one word.
My mom also has an iron will. I, who said I would never do this, wore a veil at my wedding.
When I was 6 years old, I wore knee socks like John John. I'm not afraid to admit it. I resisted, but my mom had a vision.
My mom had a special relationship with her father. She was spunky, independent, smart, and a force of nature. That drive and dedication have made her a tremendous success. As a reading teacher first, later as a principal and a director for BOCES special needs programs in New York State counties, and as a curricular consultant for Voyager on specialized reading programs. At Wagner, Karen has taken her commitment to a whole other level. In 2007, Mom helped to found the New Educators at Wagner program. Through her role as founding director and faculty, she has mentored 25 new teachers in Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, reaching over 1,000 students directly each year, and many thousands more beyond. In addition to that, Karen has been a vital partner, along with our dad and the entire Wagner team, in nurturing the college's financial renaissance. I, for one, know how to be a professional woman by watching my mom, who I saw do it remarkably every single day. Mom,
Mom, we are so proud of you and thrilled to celebrate all of your accomplishments tonight. Thank you, Mom.
Aren't they diamonds? I truly am proud of them. Even though they travel the world, we keep in touch with them, and they continue to inspire us. It's a delight to be with them. It is now my privilege to introduce my husband. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Thank you to the talented Gala committee, who worked tirelessly to make this a splendid evening. They include Diane Powers, Aletta Diamond, Louise Kaufman, Marcia Garcia, and Biddy Miss Comiskey. I love you all. As I look around this room, I see St. Lawrence, Hobart, and Wagner friends, and treasured family members. You have a special place in our hearts. You have enriched our lives. Please know that we will always be grateful for your joining us this evening to share this magical moment with us. Richard and I first connected while celebrating his 16th birthday. Our teenage friends carefully arranged for us to go to his surprise Sweet 16 birthday party together. We didn't know each other. My job was to get him to the party, and then I understood I could leave him. That isn't what Richard had in mind. After we arrived at the party, I left him and joined others. My eyes caught him looking at me from across the room. As he proceeded to walk toward me, I became fascinated by his dimples, gorgeous hair, and when he spoke, by his assertiveness and brilliance. It was some enchanted evening. We dated in Manhattan, especially going to our favorite bistro, the Right Bank. There we would see celebrities like Margaret Mead and James Baldwin. We knew we wanted to achieve. I had great confidence in Richard's talents. I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. We didn't know where life would take us, we could never have envisioned coming to Wagner College. One of our favorite songs at the time was Some Enchanted Evening, sung by Enzio Pinza. Some of the lyrics are so appropriate for our state of mind at that time. Who could explain this feeling we had for one another and for life? Who could tell us why? Fools give reasons, wise men never try. Today, many of you know we have a small getaway in Manhattan. As we head to Tudor City, Richard drives and sings to Nat King Cole's rendition of The Very Thought of You. What a romantic guy. He really emphasizes the words, I am as happy as a king, and foolish though it may seem, to me it's everything. Quite an enchanted moment. Recently, upon entering Richard's office, I could hear him playing and singing these songs. Sometimes there's no one in his office. Sometimes members of his senior staff or other guests are there. It's apparent to me that Richard is having a love affair with Wagner College. He is very passionate about his work here. The first time he visited Wagner College, when he came for his interview, he fell in love with the entire community and the breathtaking views. He has remained enchanted with life here all through his years. And the last 10 years as president, he has been as happy as a king. Ladies and gentlemen, I take great pleasure in introducing to you my husband, the dimpled, brilliant, assertive, with slightly less hair, man I fell in love with so many years ago, President Richard Guarasci.